US President Donald Trump has threatened South Africa again, this time threatening to remove South Africa from G20, the world's most influential economic coordination forum. Is this possible? I'll get into all of this in a bit. My name's Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. On this channel, I talk about geopolitics from the perspective of an African. So if that's something you are interested in, subscribe to this channel. Let's get right into it. So G20 was started in 1999 as a forum, an informal consensus-based forum for the world's largest economies. 19 economies in the world teamed up with the African Union and the European Union to create the G20, right? You have China, India, Japan, Brazil, Australia, the US, South Korea, Argentina, Mexico, Turkey, South Africa. These were the original founding members, right? And later on, they brought in the African Union. The European Union joined as a union, right? And so, because it is informal and consensus-based, there is no mechanism for removing members. I'll explain what I mean by this. So in 2014, when Russia attacked Ukraine, yes, they did, the G8, which used to be the forum or club of the world's 8th largest economy, dissolved and formed another club called G7. Because they wanted to remove Russia from G8. You understand? Because it is a club, what they had to do was, we don't want to be part of this G8 club anymore. We have dissolved this G8 club. We are starting our own club called G7. But G20 operates differently. It is informal and consensus-based. So the members have to agree that you can become a member or you remove you as a member. And so even though Russia was removed from G8 in 2014, Russia remains a member of G20. And after 2022, when a lot of organizations in the world were removing Russia, including FIFA, the G20 maintained Russia. Why? The G20 has one goal, right? It's about global trade. So they try to stick to trade and finance and related issues. This time around, Donald Trump is trying to use G20 to settle scores that have nothing to do with trade. I'll explain why. So earlier this year, the Secretary of State of the US, Marco Rubio, did not attend a G20 meeting of foreign ministers of the G20 members, saying that he was not in alignment with the G20's agenda for the year, which included diversity, equity, and climate change. If you ask me, I think it was unwise for Marco Rubio to boycott the G20 because even if you don't agree with the other members on climate change, diversity, and equity, which we know because Donald Trump removed the US from the Paris Accord again, and Donald Trump has been trying to crack down on DEI since he's been president, whatever that means. And so it is clear that Trump's administration does not align with G20 on these issues. But that is why this forum exists. It's a forum, which means that the point of the forum is what? Dialogue. So if you disagree with the members on an issue, you show up to the forum and express your position. The other members will agree or disagree with you. But it looks like Trump administration was not willing to, align or have conversations with the rest of the world on this matter. And this even worse. Last Friday, Donald Trump announced that the US and any of its leaders are not attending the G20 meeting in South Africa. And the reason he gave was that South Africa is committing genocide on white farmers. You know what? For shit and giggles, let's say it is true. It is not. But let's pretend it is true that white farmers are being genocided in South Africa. That is Donald Trump's reason for not wanting to attend G20 in South Africa this year. Earlier this year, I said months ago, Marco Rubio also refused to attend, what was the name? The meeting of foreign ministers in South Africa, saying that he did not align with the diversity, equity, and what's the other word? Climate change conversation that will be happening at the G20 foreign ministers meeting. So basically, Trump administration have given two different reasons for boycotting G20 meeting in South Africa. Bro, it should be serious. Is it, Uchi Wali Wali or one mic? 6-7. What I'm saying is Trump has been inconsistent, or Trump administration is inconsistent when it comes to G20. And I want to say this. Trump wants to have a bit or more say on global stage and more power on global trade, while trying to operate outside of global trade. Yo, you have to be a member of the club to have a say on the club. You cannot be removing yourself from global trade in the name of America First while trying to have more power on global trade. So the fact that Trump administration and its executive or members are not willing to engage with the rest of the world when it comes to trade limits their power, which takes me to my second point. Trump says that he's going to remove South Africa from G20. So South Africa is currently the presidency or holds the presidency of G20. So the G20 have a rotating presidency every year. So from December 1st, a new presidency is elected. But the presidency is based not on the person, the country. So on December 1st, 2024, South Africa began its presidency of G20, which will end on November 30th, 2025. So from December 1st, 2025, the US will take over the presidency of G20 from South Africa. And the US will host the next meeting of G20 in Miami. But here's the thing. Trump does not have the power to remove South Africa from G20. First and foremost, South Africa is a founding member of the G20. Second of all, the G20 is an informal, consensus-based forum, so they do not have a mechanism for removing members, right? It has to be consensus, so all the members have to come to consensus that we are removing this party. The US alone cannot remove South Africa from G20. What probably Trump can do is to stop South Africa from attending G20 meetings by revoking their diplomatic pass to come to the US to attend the meeting, right? Because from December 1st, the US will be hosting the meetings, right? What that means is Trump earlier this year flouted international laws by refusing the president of Palestine permission or visa to attend the UN meeting or UN General Assembly meeting. That was very, very highly disrespectful, not to Palestine, but to the UN. Because the US, when it decided to be the headquarters of the UN in 1948 or 1945, it's 1945. In 1945, one of the conditions that was attached to the US ownership or the US headquarters in the United Nations is that the US would allow the UN to operate like a separate entity of the US. So the US flaunted that. I have a whole video explaining that. I'll post it up here and at the end of this video. But my point is, breaking international relation norms is not something that is above Trump. He's done it before. And he's most likely will do this again. But he doesn't have the power to remove South Africa. He can stop South Africa from attending meetings by playing games with visas, but he cannot stop South Africa from being a member of G20. He doesn't have that power. One thing Trump has been doing since he's been president, especially in his second term, is usurping powers he does not have. And he's been able to do that in the US when it comes to dealing in the US. He just doesn't have the power to do that outside of the US. So I just wanted to point that out, that Trump has been threatening things that are beyond his power. And I don't know who told Trump that he have those type of, powers. I just wanted to point that out. And also, even if Trump were to make moves to try to remove South Africa formally, AU is a member of the G20. AU would have to vote with the US to do that. Russia is a member of G20. China, India. These are China, Russia, AU most likely will not vote with the US. And the G20 is just an organization. It's an informal organization. They control about 80% of the global GDP, 75% of global trade, and 60% of the world's population. The reason why it exists mainly is to make it easier for members to do trade among each other. The G20 does not itself have any power to force anybody to do anything, really. It's not like, when the UN passes a resolution, members of the UN usually are required, they don't always do it, but are required to adapt the UN resolution in their home countries. The G20 doesn't force members to do anything. The members can do anything they want, right? So it is not even that powerful organization, but yeah. I just realized that I probably made a misjudgment when I said let's pretend that there is a genocide of white farmers in South Africa. I need to emphasize again by saying that there is no genocide of white farmers in South Africa. There is nobody in the US, South Africa, or anywhere in the world that have found credible evidence of white genocide in South Africa. Maybe I'll post another video to go into details what Trump is talking about and why is the most stupid thing he has ever said in his presidency. I'm sorry for using those words. I shouldn't have done that. Sometimes I get emotional when things like this come up. I'm sorry. I don't like using foul language, especially today is Sunday when I'm recording this. I'm going to church. I was raised to be Christian. I don't like using this type of language. I'm sorry. And my point is that is not the way things are done. Trump is doing things the wrong way, and we need to highlight it, especially those of us who are from third world countries whose countries are being affected day in, day out by the actions taken by President Trump. Thank you for watching this, and subscribe to my channel if you are interested in more conversations like this. Normally, my conversations are usually more structured and follow a more systematic explanation of the issues. Today, I just got a bit carried away because the issue at hand is a bit disrespectful to the African country of South Africa. I'll talk to you later.